I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you got Ed Sheeran to shit in the bush, but we'll get on to that. So you guys have known each other quite a long time now. But when did the idea come to sort of sit down and start writing Sumotherhood?
Me and Adam, I've been a big fan of his, and for a while we wanted to work with each other. And one day I just picked up the phone and I just said to him, "It's time, bro." And he was just like, "Yeah." We met up, and then the rest was history, innit?
Yeah, I feel like we were in the plans of something like this for a long time, and then it just felt like the right time. Yeah, we got together, then we linked up with Michael Vu, and it just went from there.
And how different do you think you both are as kind of storytellers, as filmmakers, as actors, to how you were 12 years ago when Another Hood came out? Can you see, because obviously, I couldn't believe it's been 12 years, but can you see kind of differences in the way you approach the kind of industry now to how you did back then?
Yeah, for me, I've got a totally different outlook on it. I approach things totally different. I think when I first started in the industry, I was very naive. I was kind of, I started when I was 12 years old, but I was kind of like oblivious to the industry. I had to learn, navigate my way through. So I think I've learned a lot. I've definitely changed as a person. I've changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think I've changed as well. I feel like when I first started, I was I'm still young now, but I was like really young at the time. And for example, this was this is the first time that I've had like such a major role with so much dialogue as well. So I felt like this was, I've changed a lot more professional, I would say, that I am now.
You mentioned the dialogue. I mean, it's so high energy, and some of the kind of explosive monologues, they've got a kind of rhythm to them. I just wondered if, especially some of the stuff Richie.
Like that one, innit? He likes the rhythm. Yeah. This is something that he was saying to us before. We need the rhythm.
Yeah, no, you could get a sense of it. And also some of the stuff Richie has to do as well. It's so kind of, it requires so much energy. I just wondered how it was, because you do a scene like that, and then you shout cut, and you have to do it all over again. Was that quite challenging to maintain that kind of, that feeling?
I feel really blessed with the cast we had because, like you said, it was very high energy all the time. When you look at Jazzie's performance and Richie Campbell's performance, it was dialogue heavy, it was energy was up. And to keep that, I feel like it was quite hard, but I feel like everyone was so committed to what they were doing. I'd walk around set and I'd see Jazzie going through his lines, I'd see Richie going through his lines, and everyone was just so committed to what they were doing. I think everyone wanted this to be the best film they could make. Yeah, I feel really proud.
And obviously, despite the fact it is a comedy, there is a lot of talk of kind of male mental health issues in this as well. How important is it to address that within this kind of movie as well, and show that even in this, in sort of like on the streets of London, people are still suffering and still, it's good for people to talk to their friends about things like this as well.
Yeah, for me, mental health was a massive part of this film because, I've gone through my own kind of mental health struggles, and I felt like when we were writing the film, I wanted it to touch certain issues that maybe I faced myself. Riko's character's got bipolar like myself. And even though we're so different as characters, I wanted there to be a conversation around men's mental health and for it to kind of normalise the conversation, just making it okay for someone to go and check up on their mate. If you look at Kane's character, he often asks in the film, have you taken your meds? He often checks up on Riko. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to get that conversation going around mental health. I'm an ambassador of Bipolar UK, and it means a lot to me. To break that stigma of mental health means a lot to me, yeah.
We wanted it to make it really authentic as well, and I feel like we've achieved that.
Yeah. Was it quite a tough balance as well? Because the film can kind of it will go from being really comedic and something quite overstated, and then in a second just kind of dip into something just a bit more serious. But when you were kind of writing it, how did you kind of get that tonality to be right? Was it something that came on set more than it was in the writing?
No, I think we spent a long time in the writing process. Big up Michael Vu as well, like an amazing writer, because we really thought out everything. No word was there by chance. Do you know what I mean? Like we wanted it to flow. Every sentence had a riddle to it. It had to kind of come off your tongue in a certain way. But no, we really thought long and hard about how we were going to mix the kind of comedy element into, say, a more serious subject like mental health. We thought about that, yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of the cameos. I'm going to start with Ed Sheeran. I mean, just how did you convince him to say some of the stuff he said? You've got a global, respected superstar to do a poo in the bushes.
What was so crazy about the Ed situation is that Ed was a big fan of Anotherhood, and shout out to Kevin Bishop as well, who connected the dots. And yeah, we always wanted to kind of like get him involved. And one day we just had a conversation, spoke to Kev, and we were just like, look, we're just thinking of having Ed. And then he set up a Zoom with Adam and Ed. And then, yeah, he was just like, he's down, he's up for it.
He was really committed. Yeah. He was very committed. And I've got to take my hat off, like, because again, it was very dialogue heavy. He learnt his lines. We rehearsed, and he improvised on set. And I feel like anyone watching the movie are going to be very surprised with what Ed Sheeran does in this film.
No, he's amazing, yeah.
And of course, my final question, another cameo, was obviously Jeremy Corbyn. I was going to ask about how you secured that and what that was like on set. Because did it feel like everyone has to be on their best behaviour? You know, when you're at school and the head teacher walks in and just stands in the corner and just observes.
On set wasn't like that. No. On set was honestly, it was a fun set. It was a fun set. In regards to the Jeremy Corbyn, that's Adam.
I met him years ago at a play I was doing in Hackney, and he just seemed like a really nice guy, and we got on. He told me he was a supporter of my early work, and I remember being in the office in pre-production, and we were just having this conversation like, how wild can we get with this film? Yeah. How random can we take this? And yeah, we just thought, let's just kind of message Jeremy and see if he's up for it. But he really understood what we were trying to do. He knew we weren't trying to take ourselves too seriously. And I feel like he came on set and he just smashed it, yeah.
And also I would like to say that is the line of the year. Allow it, waste man.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that got a loud laugh.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, guys. Best
Appreciate you, man.
Thank
you, bro.
Cheers.
Cheers, take care.
Thank you, man. Take care. Cheers. Appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!